right, come sit a little closer, sweetheart. Let me tell you a story the way it used to be told. Slow, warm, and full of little memories. You know, there was a time, not so very long ago really, when dinner didn't come from apps or drive-thrus. Back in the 1970s, kitchens across America were quieter, smaller, and a whole lot simpler. And for many folks, especially those living alone, dinner wasn't some grand event. It was just something you had to figure out at the end of a long, tiring day. I remember those evenings. You'd come home, maybe from a factory shift, maybe from school, maybe from a job that kept you on your feet all day. Your shoes felt heavy, your shoulders ached, and the last thing you wanted was a complicated recipe. So you'd open that refrigerator door. And sometimes there wasn't much looking back at you. Just a carton of eggs, maybe a stick of butter, a loaf of bread if you were lucky. But you know what? That was enough. Oh yes, it was enough. You'd take out a couple of eggs, crack them into a bowl, give them a quick whisk with a fork, nothing fancy now, and melt a little butter in a pan. The sound of those eggs hitting the pan, soft and gentle. You'd stir them slow, careful not to rush, until they'd turned into the creamiest scrambled eggs you could ask for. Pop a slice of bread in the toaster, and just like that, dinner was ready. Simple, warm, honest. And on nights when you wanted something you could hold in your hand, well, a fried egg sandwich did just fine. One pan, one egg, 2 slices of bread, maybe a slice of cheese if you had it tucked away somewhere. Folks didn't fuss much. They made do, and somehow it always tasted good. Now, I'll tell you something that might make you smile. There were nights when people didn't even turn on the stove at all. Oh yes, a peanut butter and banana sandwich. Now that was a little treasure. Sweet, filling, and just enough to quiet a hungry stomach. People kept peanut butter jars like gold back then. You could stretch it for days. Add a banana, and you had yourself a meal that felt almost like a treat. And then there was grilled cheese. Oh, honey, that sandwich, golden and crisp on the outside, melted and gooey on the inside. It could fix just about any bad day. Folks used to joke that the hardest part was waiting a minute before biting in so you wouldn't burn your tongue. But most of us didn't wait anyway. We were hungry, and it smelled too good. You see, times weren't always easy back then. Prices were rising and people had to think carefully about every dollar. So they got clever. They found ways to make meals stretch. Eggs, rice, pasta, those became the heart of the kitchen. A bowl of rice with a fried egg on top, that was comfort in its purest form. The yolk would run just a little, mixing into the rice, maybe a dash of salt, maybe a splash of soy sauce if you had it. It wasn't fancy, but it filled you up and made you feel all right. And canned foods? Oh, those were a blessing. A can of chicken noodle soup could turn a cold, quiet night into something gentle and warm. You'd heat it up in a small pot, maybe crumble some crackers on top, and sit down with a bowl in your hands, steam rising, worries easing just a little. Now, not every meal was eaten alone. Sometimes people came together. Church basements, community halls, potlucks, those places were full of casseroles, big dishes made to feed many mouths. Ground beef, beans, noodles, a bit of cheese, all baked together into something that didn't look like much, but meant everything. Because those meals weren't just about food, they were about showing up for one another. If a family was struggling, if someone was grieving, if times were tight, people brought what they could, a tray of food, a warm dish, a quiet kind of kindness. And at the end of the week, oh, that was something special in its own way, too. Leftovers. Everything that hadn't been used, bits of meat, some noodles, a handful of vegetables, went into one dish. Into the oven it went. No recipe, no rules, just a way of saying we're not wasting a thing. Funny thing is, people don't always remember how those meals tasted, but they remember how they felt. Safe, full, taken care of. You see, those kitchens back then, they weren't rich, not by a long shot, but they were warm, and in that warmth, people found a kind of comfort that didn't need fancy ingredients or perfect recipes. Just a little food, a little time, and a whole lot of heart. Now tell me, sweetheart, doesn't that sound like the kind of dinner worth remembering?
Now, before you go, sweetheart, let me just say something from the bottom of my heart. To those of you who've already joined me and subscribed, thank you. Truly, it means more than you know to have you sitting here listening to these little stories and memories. You're part of this cozy circle now, and I'm so glad you're here. And if you're just passing by, listening quietly, why not stay a while? Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. There are plenty more warm kitchens, simple meals, and gentle memories waiting for you. And if this story made you smile, even just a little, give it a like, won't you? Maybe even share it with someone who could use a bit of comfort today. A friend, a parent, a grandparent, anyone who remembers or needs to remember those simple, heartfelt moments. Come a little closer, honey. That's right. Let me keep going, but this time I want you to think along with me, because stories like this, they're not just mine. They belong to you too. You ever come home after a long day, open the fridge, and just stand there for a moment, not really looking, just hoping something easy will appear? I thought so. That feeling, that's not new. Folks were doing that exact same thing back in the 1970s. Different time, different world, but the same tired sigh at the end of the day. Tell me, what do you reach for on nights like that? Is it eggs, toast, maybe just a sandwich because you don't feel like cooking? Because back then, that's exactly what people did. They didn't overthink it. They didn't scroll through recipes or order delivery. They just worked with what they had. A couple of eggs, a slice of bread, maybe a bit of butter, and somehow that became dinner. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever had a grilled cheese sandwich on a bad day? You know the kind I mean. Crispy on the outside, warm and melty on the inside. Maybe you burnt it just a little, but you ate it anyway. Didn't it make things feel just a tiny bit better? That's what those meals were about. Not perfection, just comfort. And what about this? Have you ever made something out of almost nothing? Maybe the fridge was nearly empty. Maybe payday was still a few days away, and you had to get creative. Did you ever throw together whatever was left? Some rice, maybe an egg, maybe a can of something, and call it dinner? Back then, people did that all the time. A bowl of rice with an egg on top. Simple, yes, but filling, reliable. It got you through the night. Doesn't that kind of meal feel honest? Now think about this for a moment. Do you usually eat alone or with someone? Because in those days, it could be both. Some nights were quiet, just you, a small plate, maybe the sound of a TV in the background. And other nights, well, those were different. Have you ever been to a potluck, a church dinner, a gathering where everyone brings a dish? Do you remember the smell when you walked in? All those different foods blending together, people talking, laughing softly in the background. Back in the 70s, casseroles filled those rooms, big dishes made to share. Not fancy, not perfect, but enough for everyone. Let me ask you something. Do you think food tastes better when it's shared? I always thought so. And here's one more thing I want you to think about. What do you do with leftovers? Do you toss them, save them, make them into something new? Because once upon a time, nothing was wasted. At the end of the week, everything went into one dish. A little of this, a little of that, into the oven it went. No name, no recipe, just dinner. Have you ever done that? And if you have, did it turn out better than you expected? You see, sweetheart, those meals weren't just about saving money or time. They were about something deeper. They were about making do, about finding comfort in simple things, about feeding yourself, even when you were tired, even when life felt heavy. So let me ask you one last question. When was the last time you had a meal that was simple but made you feel okay? Not fancy, not expensive, just enough. Because sometimes that's all we really need. And maybe, just maybe, that's something we haven't changed all that much since the 1970s. All right now, take care of yourself, and I'll see you again real soon.